So it would make a lot of sense if the legislature were to enable all of the schools, help them in some way to develop their own renewable energy systems. That's kind of like the PACE idea. And maybe if you could tell the viewing public, what is PACE, which very sadly died in the last legislative session?
Well, it's not just been troubled here, but PACE on a national basis, which means property assessed clean energy. The basic mechanism is that you get the state or the municipality, the city or county floats a bond, and then they make that funding available for people to do clean energy efficiency or renewable energy at their house, and then they pay it off just as they pay off their tax bill, their property tax bill.
In other words, you would borrow money from the bond pool, and you would put your renewable energy systems on your home, and then over a period of about 20 years, it would be paid off by being added to your property taxes.
That's the
by the way,
original plan.
Just a side note, NREL, the National Lab in Golden, Colorado, did a study, I understand, and they determined that homes that were energy efficient sold more quickly and for more money.
That's right.
So the bankers who were upset with the PACE bond idea, because the PACE bond would be take precedent over their mortgage, the bankers should be satisfied that they're going to have a more valuable property in the event it needs to be marketed.
It definitely, that study showed that solar as well, if you have solar on your house, it adds more than the value of the solar
itself.
And it does sell faster than comparable homes in your neighborhood. So it just makes good economic sense to do it.
Absolutely.
And you know, the Building Industry Association for Hawaii, they are really coming around to doing this. They are of a project where they're going to build a couple of model homes that are going to be net zero homes here in the state.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We're really excited. We've partnered with them.
Now, is that the Building Industry Association that's going to be doing it?
That's right, BIA here in Hawaii.
I should do a disclosure. My son is a newly installed member on the board or something, I believe, of that.
There you go. So you should tell him to tell the leadership that they're doing a great job.
Oh, I will do that.
Yeah, and that's actually part of what HCI is. HCI is not a government-led project. In fact, the steering group that we have for this is mostly industry. It's really the people of the state saying, you know, our future can be different than the business as usual course, and we're committed to making it happen. I can tell you, it took me a couple times to get my solar water heater installed. I live in a townhome, you know, and the association was concerned about how it looked and so forth. So I had to stick it out, you know, to make sure that we figured out how to engineer it, you know, and that it was cost effective to do it. But it's definitely worthwhile to do it, and people need to make that effort. You know, I think, sure, we need to turn off our light, you know, turn off the lights when we leave the room. Absolutely. Do we need to screw in a CFL instead of an incandescent? Yes, but we also need to make the big investments and the big choices, which will set us on a different path for clean energy.
Now there's another thing that happened during the last legislative session that really disturbed me. In the very closing days, the Finance Committee and the Ways and Means Committee decided that the money that was supposed to go from the barrel tax, the increase in the barrel tax that was supposed to go to help fund the Energy Office and also food security, they stole 60% of that money. And I use that term. You don't need to use the same term, but in my mind, they stole that money in the very closing days. No hearing about it, nothing, no chance for people to come in and say, don't do that. So now we're set where we can go back and rethink that. And my concern is if that funding doesn't go on and go back as it should to the Energy Division, what are we going to have? You're running out of ARA funds.
We are. I'm on the board for the National Association of State Energy Officials, and my colleagues and I talk about the ARA cliff. You know, many states have gotten hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, we're a small state. We add in energy for state agencies about 50 million, less than 50 million. But that money's going to run out. And so all this capacity and expertise we've built up, how are we going to continue that? We in Hawaii, over the last 3 years, in the previous administration, were very thoughtful about how we are going to move this forward and leverage this money as best as possible for transformation. With the incoming administration, some of the leaders that I've talked to, they are totally committed to accelerating that. And so that's a very heartening thing.
Are they putting the figures together, though? Are they saying, okay, then we need to take all of that money from the barrel tax and give it back to the Energy Division? And let me just do an aside to the viewers. The most important call that you could make is to your legislators saying, give all of the barrel tax money back to the Energy Division, because otherwise the Energy Division is going to be struggling just to exist. And we need that division to move Hawaii off of its dependence on fossil fuel and into the renewable energy future.
Well, one of the things that Act 73, the barrel, people talk about the barrel tax, but that act is so much more than the barrel tax. There's really a lot of really wise things in that. And one thing it stood up is an economic development task force driving towards food and energy sustainability for the state.
Right.
And so I think in the course of that conversation, and certainly this administration is going to put together a plan not just for fuel independence, but also to help drive agricultural independence and to really drive that economic engine that could be from our ag lands, our ag community. I think
and the economic engine, I keep saying, it's job creation. It is
right.
Job creation. It keeps our young people here in meaningful jobs.
Yeah, we are really I believe, on the doorstep of tremendous transformation in agriculture and in energy, and those two will drive tremendous growth in the rest of our economy. It's an exciting time to be in Hawaii. I think it is just a tremendous opportunity right before us as a state.
But then I see that barrel tax that was taken away and just put in the general fund needs to go back to the purpose which was intended. And that means food security and renewable energy, not just renewable, but clean energy as well.
Right.
And that's just an absolute must this coming session.
We think that's something that we're going to pay a lot of attention to.
Well, I would hope we would get a lot of support from the public out there, because that's tremendously important. The Energy Office can't exist, can't continue with its programs, can't expand, can't move Hawaii toward its clean energy future without the funding. And the tax was intended for that very purpose. So the tax that was siphoned, I'll say siphoned instead of stolen, siphoned away to just go into the general fund, needs to go back to this coming session to the energy and food security programs.
I'm somewhat sympathetic to what the legislature did last year, simply because there was obviously a big hole in the budget. Our office, just like every other state employees, we're